So it's been a while since I have done a video, and I wanted to get started again. I was watching a friend of mine who posted a video, and December 1 was his start again date. And I thought to myself, December 1 is a good start again date because it's been a while since I posted anything. And I keep thinking, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And December 1, what a good start date. So I am starting on December 1. I'm renaming this blog, and it's going to be called At the Edge of Midnight. And the reason I'm calling it At the Edge of Midnight is because at the edge of midnight is when we who struggle with mental health issues seem to struggle the most. It is the midnight hours, the dark of the night, is when we're alone and we are struggling, and we have those moments when we make those phone calls to what is now 988, the mental health helpline. And when the tears flow and things get really, really real. And that's why I chose the name At the Edge of Midnight. It's a very real struggle. Since I posted last, I have been diagnosed with some other struggles. I have kidney disease, I have heart disease, I have some issues in my neck, I have a couple of bulging discs, I've got one in the middle of my back as well, and I fell and messed up my knees. Let's just say I'm a hot mess. So I have some medical things I need to deal with as well, and I'm walking this road alone. So I've had my good cry about it. It won't be the last time. But what I know that I need to do is to face this head on and face these struggles so that I am not putting myself in a situation where I am going to be suicidal, because a suicidal tendency is while it runs strong in my history, there's something about facing your mortality in a very real way with kidney disease and heart disease that makes me really evaluate where I'm at in my life, and knowing that these diagnoses can really shorten my life. And it made me really stop and think about, do I want to live or do I want to give up? And I had those conversations with myself, and I had those conversations with myself as I was journaling. I journal a lot. I think journaling helps with the process of getting things straight in my head. And I really had to ask myself, do I want to live? Do I want to continue? Or do I just want to give up? And facing mortality with two diagnoses that are potentially life-ending has made me really stop and think about, do I want to live? How am I going to make the rest of my life the best of my life? Because these diagnoses are probably going to shorten my life. And I don't say that to be morbid, but at the same time, it's realistic. Heart disease can be changed. It can change the dynamics very, very, very strongly. I don't know exactly what, I know what the diagnosis is, and it's a tough one, but there are surgeries, there are things that can be done that can help um, put me back on a straight and narrow path. But then there's the diagnosis of the kidney disease that can also be a problem. And without dialysis and a transplant, I don't know. We'll see. I'm at an age where I don't know if a transplant is viable, but we're not going to talk about that because I don't know. What I am going to talk about is making my life the best of my life of what I have right now. I wrote a book in 2020 that isn't published yet. I started a book a couple of weeks ago. It's called The Grief of Mental Illness. And I think it's very important topic to talk about because mental illness is very misunderstood. About a week or so ago, we had mass shootings back to back to back to back. There was one at the Q LGBTQ nightclub in Colorado Springs, and then just before that, there were, my gosh, it was 4 co-eds killed in Idaho, and 3 football players in Virginia. And then after the Q nightclub, within just not even hours, it was like 24 hours or so later, there were 5 killed at a Walmart. It was like less than a week that these happened, and I was looking at the statistics of how many people had been killed this year, and it is mind-boggling. We're not even going to talk about Uvalde. That's a whole different topic for another day. And mental health has to be talked about. It has to be brought out into the light because gun control is one thing, but that's not my topic. That's not what I'm going to talk about ever, is gun control, because I'm going to talk about mental illness and mental health and the stigma that is behind mental illness, because we stand in the dark so much. Because when we talk about mental illness, we talk about mental health, there isn't enough funding, there isn't enough help out there for people with mental illness to get help. I know in my own town, this is a small town, it's a conservative town, and getting help, finding a good therapist. When I moved back here in 2019, I had a therapist, and then things went awry and I needed to find another therapist, and I couldn't find one who took my insurance. Getting an intake, I called and they said it was going to be 2 months, and I was in crisis at that time, and I was suicidal, and I told them that. It took 2 months for them to call me back just to get an intake. It was probably more than that. And I asked to talk to their supervisor. The supervisor never called back. I did get an appointment with another company, but they would not let me do telehealth. And that became a strong issue. Because of the issue with the first therapist, the one that I had in the city that I lived before, because I lived in a rather large city, I filed a complaint against that person, and I'm still battling that issue. We should not have to battle just to get help. We shouldn't have to battle. That's a problem. And when I call 988, depending on who I get, if I get a certified peer support worker, I can actually have a conversation. If I get a certified therapist, all they want to know is, where am I? am I suicidal and am I seeing a therapist? They really don't want to talk to me. That's a problem right there. And then I called a an organization that's supposed to help people. And they said, we're not going to do it for you. You're going to do it yourself. And they really didn't help me at all. That's not help. That's basically talking at you, telling you you're going to do this. There's no coming alongside you. And I asked for a certified peer support worker. I did not get that. And I'm actually a trained certified peer support worker, but I never was able to finish my training. So there's a lot of disconnects in what's happening. And those need to be fixed. I am a tenacious person, but how many people are there out there who are not, who slip back into the shadows, who become a statistic? Because 95% of those of us who struggle with mental health issues, I'm bipolar, I have anxiety, I have PTSD, I'm a rape survivor. How many of us that slip back into the shadows and become a statistic, who instead of keep pushing, either go with drugs, alcohol, or suicide? Because 95% hurt ourselves instead of someone else. Now, the 5%, and I don't have that statistic with me, I'll try to find it when I post this video, but there's only about 5% that actually go out and hurt others, because most of us just hurt ourselves, take our own lives, or do drugs and alcohol. I'm not an alcoholic. I've never done that. I've never done drugs. I don't know. I was always scared to death of them. And alcohol just makes me sick to my stomach. And it's just not something that I'm interested in doing. Maybe that's a blessing in disguise. I don't know. I've had good luck with therapists for the most part until the last 6 or 7 years. And then things have gotten weird. But that's the topic. I welcome comments. I welcome questions, your thoughts on the subject. I'm going to go ahead and post this now. So at the edge of midnight, that's where we're at. That's where we hurt the most. And that's what needs to change the most. Thank you.